Day 4, number 87, with the man, Frank Scalish, back live, in person, in color. I'm in the studio in Moore. Frank is in the lovely state of Ohio.
The lovely cold state of
What
Ohio.
What is Ohio's slogan? Well, like Missouri's the show me state. Is it Virginia is for lovers? What is Ohio?
I don't even know. I don't have a clue. Isn't that great? I don't even know.
There's got to be a slogan for Ohio, Frank.
Well, Matt, you have 3 computers in front of you. You can
I'll
find
look it up.
this. You look it up. You look up our slogan, and then and I could tell you our state fish is the.
You know what?
walleye.
It makes a lot of sense because of how difficult the bass fishing is in the state outside of the smallmouth. So the
Correct.
state's official state slogan is "With God, all things are possible."
Amen, brother. Amen, brother. So yeah, so our state fish is the walleye, which I was pissed about because it should have been smallmouth, but it really shouldn't be because we're the walleye capital of the world. Our state bird's the cardinal. I have no idea what our state flower is and don't really give a damn.
1959, a 12-year-old boy suggested that. With God, all things are possible. That is the state motto of Ohio. So every time you're
Perfect.
on the Ohio River grinding and you've got 2 for 2,
Just remember, you're in God's state.
with God, all things are possible.
Right. So that means you could possibly catch 2, 3 more.
The first state motto was an empire within an empire.
Okay, that doesn't make one bit of sense.
Yeah, that was from like the 1860s.
Yeah, well, that's why. That's exactly why.
But they got rid of it because it, quote, smacked too much of royalty. A pretentious air about the motto.
That's okay.
An empire within an empire.
A little pretentiousness isn't too terrible.
No.
So
How you been? What's up?
I've been good. I've been good, man. I got a little amped up, this morning, but that's for another day. But I just want to say something. Last night I stayed up very late watching all the storm coverage and everything, and hearts and prayers go out to Florida, guys. That place is getting railed right now, and it's really devastating. It's kind of fascinating weather event, to be honest with you, but it's really devastating. So all my prayers go out to you guys from Florida, and hopefully everything gets back to normal soon. And that's really kind of it's not exactly how I wanted to.
No, I know. It's amazing.
show,
I'm very familiar with that Gulf side coast there, where it actually made at Punta Gorda and St. Pete
Redfish Pass, yeah,
and all that. I kind of grew up going pier fishing there. My grandma had a condo at Paso Grill. Just went on vacation in March to Clearwater.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. What is amazing is how devastating that Mother Nature can be, but also how fast they bounce back.
Yeah, I mean,
unbelievable.
I spend a lot of my time in that area fly fishing saltwater. So I'm very familiar with it from, Fort Myers, Sanibel, Captiva, all up and through there. I do a lot of saltwater fly fishing there, and it's actually unbelievable, the devastation. And the thing that I found, especially with nature, one time I went down there and they had what they called the
Red tide.
Red tide. And there you couldn't catch a fish to save your life. The water was actually not red. It was like milky white, and you couldn't see anything in the water. And the fishing was terrible. Snook were dying everywhere. It was a real big, huge problem down there. And I found one clear water area more towards the ocean where I caught a lot of snook. But the weird thing is, the very next year, that place came back like gangbusters. Snook and speckled trout were everywhere. New grass beds were growing. I mean, it was crazy. It's crazy what nature does. Nature won't destroy itself ever.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Last week's show, you kind of did a little Uncle Frank flex with the BTL Yeti mug from Kermit's Customs. Now flip it around on the other side, and there it says Uncle Frank.
Uncle Frank.
Well, I had to get in on the action too. Kermit's Customs also. There's my BTL mug, Panger. It says Panger on the back of it. And then Mark, who's been on a bit of a bowling bender. There's a tongue twister for you. Bowling bender down in Waxahachie.
That's right.
And then on some recruiting trips for the SNU bowling team, he has a mug waiting on him too from Kermit's Customs that says MJ on the back of it. So now that I've got mine, big shout out. If you don't personally know Kermit Parsons, but big shout out to him for taking care of us with the mugs. And if you have any custom engraving needs, I would recommend checking out Kermit's with a K, Customs with a K, LLC on Instagram and shooting him a message. So big shout out. Thank you,
Thanks,
Kermit, for the custom mugs.
Love it. That mug, I'm afraid to take it in the boat with me because I don't want it to blow out because I've had that happen before.
Yeah, my track record with high-end mugs is not good.
Mm-hmm. Mine either.
Or sunglasses. Mugs and sunglasses seem to just disappear.
And in mine and Frankie's case, a camera. We were filming a show and we lost a camera overboard.
Recently?
Last year.
Oh, big, like a GoPro or like a...
No, like a real one.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was fun. It was not funny at the time, but now it's funny. But yeah, he had his cell phone attached to it and everything. We had wireless mics on it and everything, and boat blew by us. We got in a wave situation, and it was more like that video, that famous video of that bridge when the wind came on, it started oscillating a little, and then as it started oscillating more and more and more. Well, that's what happened. The boat blew by us. We got into a cross chop. I turned the boat into the waves so it wouldn't go back and forth.
Right.
And the tripod, Frankie was down fixing a GoPro, and the tripod started going doom.
Oh no.
Doom, doom, and then it started getting worse and worse. So I yell, "Frank, camera!" And he turns around and he grabs the tripod like that, and the mount broke off the top of the tripod, and the camera went poof. And that was the end of it.
I bet that was an enjoyable remainder of the trip between you two.
Well, what wound up happening was he's like, "What are we going to do now?" I go, "Well, now we put all the shit away and go fish." We fished the rest of the day. But, I mean, there's nothing you could do about it. I mean, I had put money aside to buy a new camera because the insurance for that was more money than the stupid camera. So I said, I'll just put the money for the camera away, and then that's my insurance policy.
All right, well, let's lay out a little game plan for the show today. I know you have some housekeeping that we need to take care of. A lot of cool stuff going on at Lurenet. Then I want to get your thoughts on. I just got back from the Red River, and I thought a couple times while I was down there, I wonder how Uncle Frank would approach this. And I thought that because we had done the floating vegetation show.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I accessed a backwater where there were multiple types of vegetation all in the same area. And I referenced in my mind that show. Like I had hyacinth mats. I think it was golden algae. It kind of looked like duckweed, but it had little things, but it would blow up against it. It had some dying hydrilla in certain areas, a little bit of live hydrilla, and then pads all in the same area with some wood there. And I thought, I was fishing the little indentations in it, the little holes in it, the areas next to the hyacinth, the shade that it was. I literally referenced the show in it. and was 42nd after the first day. Had some opportunities. Co-angler was leading the tournament after the first day. But I want to get your thoughts. I wonder if there's any sketchy stuff that Frank's ever tried to get into, especially after Keith Poche winning it, doing some crazy stuff to get in a backwater. So we'll get into that, and then second half of the show, a little bit of odds and ends. But you mentioned that you maybe wanted to get into some buzzbait tips, which piqued my interest.
Yeah, I do actually. Last week I got out and filmed the show, and it was really wild because I went out. We actually filmed the show on Thursday. Wednesday when I was out bopping around, because you can only be on one lake at one time, so you have to take you take your chances when you go to a lake that you haven't been on in a while. But the reality of it is that I have been on a crankbait pattern on what we talked about in one of the shows, fishing out and working your way in. And I had been on a really solid crankbait pattern. And so Tuesday I went out to a lake, and started fishing that crankbait pattern again. And what I found was the fish were moving closer and closer to shore. Well, Tuesday was, 85 degrees, sunny, and like 2 mile an hour or less winds. I mean, it was a slick, flat mirage type of day. And then Thursday, when we went out to film, it was 18 to 25 mile an hour winds, sleet and rain most of the day. And it was 50 degrees out, 51 degrees out. And so when we went to the lake we were filming on Thursday, I said, well, we're going to start out, fish our way in and see what the day gives us, because I'm not sure. I hadn't been on the lake in like a year and a half. So I'm like, we'll just see what the day gives us. And so I started on these short offshore, but connected and not very far offshore. We're talking 20 yards, 30 yards offshore, very shallow, 2 to 5 feet at the most, because that's where most of the bait was that I was seeing when I could see it, because of the way the wind was ridiculous. And so what happened was I didn't catch any fish. So I said, we're going to make this show about practicing right now, because this is a perfect opportunity, because I have no clue what's going on this particular lake. And so I had a bunch of rods out, Carolina rigs, crankbaits, the whole mix that you would do, the sloppy part of the early fall fishing, you know what I mean? And gravitated my way towards the bank. Well, the funniest thing on earth was all these little offshore rock piles and stuff. And when I say offshore on this particular lake, they are not 2 casts off the bank. They're 20 yards off the bank, 30 yards most. So I go, well, I'm going to fish this transition line all the way up into the bank. And then when I hit the bank, we're going to go that way, because I know there's a little deep edge on it, and we'll find something. So I work my way in, don't catch any fish out, not a fish out. I work my way in. There's one tiny blowdown in the water, and it's probably only as fat as a baseball bat. It's a little dinky one. And I lobbed that fat boy up against the side of it, 2-pounder. And I'm like, oh, okay. I know what's going down. And so we wound up square billing the rest of the day, and I crushed them. I caught so many fish, it was ridiculous. But trying to put Frank's spot tips to her.
Oh, I was just throwing some stuff up. Continue.
Oh, okay. I thought you wanted me to read that.
No, it's just highlighting some of the viewers' morning greetings.
Perfect. Good morning, guys. So anyway, the long and short of it is, we go out. I don't know how many bass I caught, but I was catching a lot of smaller fish, 11 to 13, 14 inches. And I'm like, there's bigger ones here. I got to figure out what the bigger ones want. So I come across and I see a dark spot way off the bank, probably 6 feet, 7 feet off the bank. I throw on the dark spot. I get a 4.5-pounder.
Giant.
So I'm like, okay, we're in. So we got to go to another part of the lake, but this particular lake, you can't use your outboard on. And I'm in my bass boat, and the wind is so horrendous that I can't go 2 miles an hour into it. and I got to go all the way down the lake into the wind. So I'm like, this is going to take us a half an hour. So anyway, long and short of it is I finally get to the other side of the lake and proceed to absolutely slam 12 inchers and 13 inchers. And I'm like, this ain't working out. I know another part of the lake that's got better this type of stuff off the bank a little bit. We got to go there. And it's like another half-hour trip across the lake. Well, we get caught in 2 torrential downpours where I actually get the boat up against the bank over a big bushy leaner, get all the way up underneath it, and while we're waiting for the sleet and the rain to stop, and then we get a little window of opportunity, and then I run out, and then it pours again. We go back under another tree, and that, so on and so on. So it was taking a long time to get what I wanted. Well, I come across this one thing, and I go, you guys, I said, it's really important when you come to these bigger leaners like this to look way out in front of that tree, because there's a lot of times there's branches way out there that you can't see. And I roll cast that fat boy up on the outside edge of those things, and I feel it coming over one of the branches, and I turn around to my cameraman. I go, Joe, dude, I said, I'm hitting branches way the hell out there. And all of a sudden it just goes, and I get one almost 6, and I'm like, sweet. And so we wound up.
Is that like your biggest one of the year?
No. But it was a good show, because I transitioned from, a 1 3/4 pound, 2 pounder to 1/4 to 1/5. So it was a really good show. It showed going from out to in, then dialing down on a pattern. So it was really nice, because to be honest with you, if it wasn't pouring down rain and so windy, and I could have actually covered water, we could have had a banner day, because I dialed in on the big bite. Towards the end of the day, I had it down, and it was crazy. Now going back to this patterning stuff, because we talk about patterns every single day. So going back to the patterns, right? So I could have been really happy just literally flying down any bank I wanted with the square bill and literally catching fish all day long, but they were all small. And so I said, we're missing something. There's a better way to catch a better quality bass. And so then I started thinking about it, and then I started getting better quality fish. And then, of course, by then, the storms had moved in. We were done filming. We couldn't do nothing else after that. The weather was so terrible, but we had gotten that transition up to the bigger bites, knowing what I knew at the end of that day. And I say the end of the day, it really wasn't, the day wasn't over. It's just, it was over for us for filming. I really could have had a banner day, because once I got into that big bite pattern, it was so obvious.
You knew you were going to get bit.
Trolling motor on high, ripping down, and then I see the right stuff, throw on it, and that's when glory days happen. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
So that was the Norman Fat Boy. I didn't know what the show was going to turn into. That show's going to air really soon, probably within the next, I would say, week. I have a video that's airing right now. It's a late summer. I can't even read my notes. I should have wrote them huge with magic marker, like Gutfeld does. It's
like
Master. Who? It's a talk show guy. Master Greg
Gutfeld.
Yeah. he's great. He's great. He's got a big pad of paper, just like here.
Sorry,
look, you see this stuff right here?
Yeah.
And then he's got every page number 1 through whatever. Okay. And when he's on his show, he just holds all the papers in his hands, and he goes through them all. And then as he's done, he just flips them over and flips them. It's
okay.
It's smooth. I like it.
It works. All right. Sorry,
but I'm not doing it. So anyway, I have a video out now that's running now. It's Master Late Summer Early Fall Techniques. I'm gonna have the fall square bill one come out, and then guys, I got one coming out after the fall square billing one. That is a massive BTL style deep dive.
Nice.
with maps, and it's a longer video than most of my videos are 3.5 to 4 minutes tops.
Mm-hmm.
This one's coming in at around 7 or 8, but I go into there's a trick in this video.
Oh.
And when you guys see it, the bell is going to go off. It's
Ah.
going to show you where you need to be fishing in the winter, and you're
Okay.
going to find it in the summer.
You know who's not going to find it?
Huma.
Gary West. Didn't like the Gutfeld reference. He's out.
I'm sorry, guys. I should have.
We'll continue.
Probably
no,
not.
looking forward to it.
I probably should.
We'll get into the Lurenet stuff. I do want to make a note that Scott Turdo created a list of all of the day fours and put it in a Google Doc and posted it on the Fans of Bass Talk Live. It's a private YouTube page if you want to become a member. Scott Turdo. He's under Bass Turds Fishing on here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he has that Fans of BTL Facebook page. And then there's a link, a Google Doc on it. And it's got all 87 after this, day fours on it, directly linked to the YouTube show. So you can go in and click on the Google Doc, whatever you want to scroll down and rewatch or watch.
Dude, that is outstanding. That's a lot of work.
That's a ton of work. It's something that I've been meaning to do for 6 months and just haven't got around to it.
Maybe you could just steal his. steal Scott's.
It's a Scott's idea. So massive. Thank you. That's what I was messing around on my phone with it, and I looked at it and I was like, holy cow, each one of these is individually linked. So it's like that first post there. So you can become a member of that fan page. I'll see if maybe you could send it to me and I can put it on the we're redoing a bunch of social media for 2023.
Gotcha.
As far as day 4, BTL, and the whole 9 yards. So.
Hey, Scott, type in, how long did it take you to do that? Just curious. Just type that in. Give me a time.
Yeah, we did skip episode 69. That was just a executive decision. He said he was bored at work.
Gotcha. Okay, so the other thing is for Lurenet, because I forgot all about it.
Yep.
It's September 29th through October 5th. Swim jigs and swim baits are on sale. So this is a good opportunity because we're coming right into the season right now. Mobster swim jigs, swim baits, which this time of year, that's what my trailers are. They're pulse minnows and they're Scottsboro swim baits. That's how I fish my swim jigs as the seasons get colder. I'm not doing the Alabama shake anymore. I'm more slow rolling them like I would fish a chatterbait or like I would fish a slow roll a spinnerbait. So this is a very timely sale, and I was really happy to see that. Plus, swim baits you can stock up on for your Flash Mob Juniors because wintertime is coming. So you'll be able to stock up for just Flash Mob trailers, which is another fantastic deal. The other thing is I get a lot of guys DMing me because I'm very, as you know, I think we did this on the last show. Like I'm really specific about rods, line, everything I'm using. I'm really meticulous about it. And it's no secret. Everybody knows that I'm a Powell rods guy. That's no secret. I've been fishing Powell rods since, I can't even tell you how long. 25 years, maybe longer. There's a code you can use on Powell's website. It's all capital letters, Uncle Frank, one word, all caps. He has specials and stuff on the website from time to time, but you'll get free shipping anywhere in the United States with that code. So please use it. It helps track where sales are coming from, and free shipping is good. Plus he runs specials on there all the time. Because I get a lot of DMs, guys want, what rod are you using for this? And where can I get it? And blah, blah, blah. So now I can tell you, he's got a fresh supply of rods in. He's going to have more in about 25 days, even more. So, he's finally got his shipments in. So take advantage of it before they're out, because you know how with the way shipping is today, you got to take advantage when it's here. But anyway, that's really, I guess that's really the
fall special.
Yeah, the fall
Swim
special.
jigs. And then I also did notice under the paint shop, and the name of it caught my attention.
Of course it did.
10 killer colored Super Spook.
Absolutely. Check them out.
What color would you describe that? Bluish, greenish, chartreusey, silver?
Yeah, pull it up. Can you pull it up?
Yeah. Hold on.
For all the world to see. It's kind of a loose show today.
There it is.
Yeah, it's a pretty sweet color. I mean, the transparent, semi-transparent belly and the pearls on that thing are really nice. It's a really slick color. You're going to get some of the back color shine through from underneath the belly because it's semi-transparent. So it's a sweet bait. It's a sweet bait. And it is the Super Spook, so obviously it's the 3-hooker, not the 2-hooker.
Hey, I've got one buddy. It just was interesting that I'll bring this up. I got one buddy who swears he refuses to fish a walking style bait without a feathered treble and says that you get more bites than they target. I've got another buddy who says feathered treble on a spook is the dumbest thing ever because it makes the profile bigger and it reduces the action of the bait because it drags the tail and it doesn't walk as good. So I got one that's you have to and one that's you never.
Well, that and that's the beauty part about fishing, okay? A guy's confidence, he'll say you always have to do this if he's confident in something. And if a guy's got a different confidence, he'll be, and it could be polar opposite, just like this. But here, if a tail feather is tied properly, it doesn't change the action of the walking bait at all. If you tie them big, thick, and bulky, it's like dragging seaweed on the back of it. So you tie the tail feathers very sparsely. It's not, you don't want a lot back there. You just want it to look like a tail fin. If you're, when you're walking the bait and it's going back and forth on you, okay, there's a lot of times where I'll walk a bait and then I'll walk it real fast. So it's, and then I'll slide it. Then I'll do a long, slow pull and it goes, and then I'll do it again and it'll come back. And then I'll go, and then it speed it up again. When you do the slow pull on it, that tail undulates there and a little bit of crystal flash in the tail. It looks just like a fin on a fish. I'm going to debunk the never throw a tail feather on a walking bait. I'm debunking that right now. There are times when I don't, and there's most of the time I do.
His other theory was if they're on any sort of smaller bait, that it enhances, it makes the profile 2 inches larger that you don't want.
No, all it looks like is the tail feathers on the tail, the transparent tail on a fish. That's all it looks like. When you talk about profile, if they're on a smaller profile, you go to the Super Spook Junior. If they're on a smaller profile, you go to the Spook Boyo. I mean, that's why there's different size walking baits. So you match your walking bait to the size of the shad or to what the bass preference is. That's how I approach it. I've got Super Spooks, Spooks, Super Spook Juniors, and Boyos. So I've got the big ones, smaller. And so whatever the bass are on, I got the size for it. So the tail feather, and I'm not bragging on any disagreement here about not having a tail feather or having.
I know, that's your opinion on it.
Right, but that's my opinion. There's different size walking baits for that purpose, for the size forage the bass are keying in on.
I like it. There's a tournament what?
Go ahead.
No, I was moving on. What else did you have there?
Yeah, move on. I was going to make a spinnerbait reference to that size issue.
Oh, definitely make it. Now I'm intrigued.
Okay, so with our spinnerbaits, okay, the most popular size spinnerbait is 3/8. The second most popular size is 1/2 ounce. Okay. Well, you could literally, like, I throw a lot of 1/4 ounces and 5/16, and I'll bump up my blade size a little bit so I could float these baits in the water. So it becomes a finesse approach. Okay. But I can create a bigger profile on a 1/4 ounce or a 3/16 by adding a bigger blade to it. When the fish are really on big spinner baits, I'll throw halves and 3/4 with no problem. When they're really on giant shad, I'll throw a spinner bait with the pulse minnow trailer on it to really make it look big. You know what I'm saying? So you pay attention to what the bass are telling you, what size bait fish they are. You can modify any bait to fit that profile. But that's why there's so many different size lures. So there's a lot of things that you don't have to make massive modifications on them. You could just downsize the lure, up change a blade. Real simple process. It takes 2 seconds to do it.
I like it.
That's
I want to go straight to the Buzzbaits because I saw you had that. I heard it. There's nothing better than that sound, like in the early morning.
I know.
That kind of rattle with the blade, and then you go, and it's like, you're like, oh, it's going to be a good morning.
Exactly.
But I did want to get your thoughts. There was a derby last week. I was at the Red River. Keith Poche did win that event doing some crazy Off the Grid is the name of his show, stuff to access backwater bass. And then I we were chatting a little bit before we went live there, and you're like, well, and I'm looking at your profile, and I'm like, son of a gun, you have 2 top 10s out of Shreveport on the Red River. And
First time I was ever there. Actually.
I said, you got any crazy stories? And you started to launch into a crazy story, and I said, dude, we got to save this for the show. So yes, I would love, before we get into the Buzzbait second half of the show, entertain us with some life decisions that you've made on the Red River to cash almost $20,000 there over 2 tournaments.
Right. It's true. Here's the crazy thing. Okay. I've never been to the Red River until that elite event. So, but I grew up fishing the Ohio River. So on the Ohio River back in the day, and when I say back in the day, guys, I mean, I was like 19 years old. So, I don't think we had running water back then. So anyway, so I used to do things to put myself in a position where I want to go where nobody is. Okay. So I would go up these creeks and backwaters on the Ohio River as far as I could go till I couldn't go any farther. And then I would find these bass that were literally unmolested, and it was like taking candy from a baby. So what happened in one of these tournaments, I went up this creek, I went through a tube, and I had to pull the boat through. It was a real narrow tube. I had to pull the boat through the tube, take my windshield off, the whole 9 yards. And I get through the tube, and it keeps on going, and I'm like, holy crap. So I start the boat up, and I'm going to go, but I can't go because I'm literally stuck in the mud. So I put towels underneath my trolling motor to elevate it, and trim all the motors up. I push, pull, push, do everything I can, get over this mud flat. It drops down to about 6 feet. I can idle. I keep idling. I keep going. And all of a sudden, there's another tube. And I'm like, no way. And so I put the nose of my boat through this tube, and it was like a trout stream on the other side. Only it was just flat, loaded with bass.
Crystal clear.
Beautiful. It was unbelievable. And the bottom, I stuck the rod tip down there, and it was all sand and gravel and everything. So I was like, holy shit. So anyway, and the tournament comes along. I go back up in there, and I think I took 3rd or 2nd in that tournament back there. Okay. So even back when I was a kid, I was always looking for the hard to reach places. So to the Red River we go. So I go to the Red River. Now, all you guys know I'm a structure fisherman. I love offshore fishing. Well, you ain't getting that there. Okay. So I relegated myself to saying I'm going to be fishing 0 to 4 feet deep, probably 90% of the time. So out comes my spinnerbait, out comes 2 flipping sticks, and out comes my square bill, and I'm a happy camper because I don't have any rods on the deck. Fishing is the system made it easy for me. So the first day I launched my boat, I'm going to tell you, I've never been. I was never there. I launched the boat and I had to go back into the little boat house guy and ask him where the main river was.
Was it right there at Red River South?
Probably. We had to go, now that most of the trees are blown away, so it's open now, but back then it was a forest. The whole thing was a forest. And so I had to ask him how to get to the main river.
I've been there.
And he started laughing at me and he goes, dude, you got to keep going that way. And I'm like, holy crap, I'll never find my way back. You know what I mean? So anyway, so the long and short of it is I go and I start fishing and I'm not catching anything, like nothing. And I'm going, this is crazy. So I lock through and I start fishing and I'm concentrating now more main rivery because I'm real familiar with that. I start catching a few. So I'm like, oh, cool. All right, cool. So, but I'm not setting the world on fire. I go up one backwater area and it's bumping stumps forever. The boat's this way, the boat's that way. It's, you know how it is. I'm like, this is ludicrous, man. I'm not dialing in. So the next day, I'm like, I don't know what the hell to do. So I get my paper maps out. Go on Google Earth. I start looking around and I go, well, that looks kind of Ohio Rivery over there. Let me go there. So I lock through. I truck downstream. I go up some backwater and and I keep on going and I keep on going and I keep on going. And I'm like, holy crap. Then it splits in 2 directions. And I'm like, I don't know which split to go through. So I go to the right and I get up and it's all blocked off, fallen trees everywhere. I can't get through. So I go to the left and I'm going and going and going. And the current is ripping. The current is like a salmon river. It is ripping up here. And I'm like, whoa. And there's a railroad trestle and all the timber's piled up against the railroad trestle. I can't get through. I see a small opening and I can see the water funneling down over these things. So I wonder if I can pop the boat up there. So I go and I get up to and the current's so strong. My boat's doing all that. I'm trying to literally squeeze my boat through a slot that is literally almost as wide as the boat is. And I don't know what's underwater, but I know the water's V'ing through there. So if I could stay on top, I could probably get up and over that. So sure enough, I give the boat some juice, man, and I pop up over that stuff and I get up over it and I'm on the other side and I go again and I'm running and running and running and I go, oh my God, there's another bridge way up there. And so I go, I wonder if I can get through it. Well, I'm a ways away from it, maybe 40, 50 yards away from it, and it's completely blocked. It's like a freaking beaver dam. And I'm like, oh my God, I wasted an hour trying to get up here. And then I looked at the land and I saw a dip in the left side of the river left. I saw a dip in the tree line and I go, dude, that's got to be a backwater. So I go up there and sure enough, there's a spot wide enough for my boat to sneak through. So I squirt the boat over that and I grab my flipping stick and the first pile of trash I came to, I flipped in there. Boom, I got one. So I shake them off and I go, holy crap. So now I put the trolling motor down and I start easing my way in there. I had 21 pitches. I had 21 bites.
Oh my gosh.
I said, I'm out of here. And then I made sure that I could run on plane, except for the obstructions that I had to get through, on plane all the way there. Well, what I didn't know, because I was never there before, the water was high and falling. Okay. This is what I didn't know. And so it turns out that I'm in like at the time, I was in seventh on the going into the last day. I was in seventh. Roland was in 10th. Bass said, "Hey, Frankie, we're gonna put a camera in Roland's boat." And obviously it was my rookie year. They're like, "We're gonna put a camera in Roland's boat. We only have 7. So we'll come and find you." They said, "We'll come and find you." I said, "You ain't never gonna find me." You know what I mean? And they're like, "Well, just tell us where you are. We'll come and find you." I said, "You ain't never finding me." And I didn't tell them where I was at. And so in the tournament morning, the last day, well, the second day of the tournament, when I was running up there, there was one point in time where I was literally like getting it. And I'm getting it in a very narrow area where, I had done this already in practice and everything was good.
Mm-hmm.
And I was flying down there, and the second day of the tournament, I hit something. Boom, the boat goes, boom. So I took it off a plane real quick. I turned around. I went right back to whatever it was I hit, and I put a waypoint on it. And my non-boater's like, "Dude, what the hell are you doing?" I go, "I got to make sure I don't hit that on the way out. So we're going to get off a plane and I'll idle over it and then go." You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So sure enough, third day, no camera guy, no nothing. I'm running up there, dude, and I'm flying, man. And I go, "Oh shit!" And my non-boater goes like that. And all of a sudden we go boom like that. I go, "Never mind, it's okay." Yeah, it's okay. So anyway, so I wound up having a really good finish up there. And the irony of it is, the next time I go down there, I went up there and up to that side and did all that stuff, and not a single bite. Not a single freaking bite. So I said, "Holy smokes." Well, I'll go up the other way and see what's the other way, because I couldn't get up the other way the year before. So let me go see I'm already up there.
Yeah.
What's it going to hurt? I'm 30 freaking miles from nowhere. So I go up the other side, and there's this giant flipping tree across the whole thing. So I'm like, "Man, I wonder if I could get on the tips of those branches and walk my boat over those branches, and then maybe I can keep going." So I get my boat on the bank, literally, because I can't get near where the big trunk of the tree is, so I got to go where all those smaller branches are. And I'm walking the boat, boom, 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 to getting over those branches. Well, sure enough, there's another tree that I don't see underwater going the opposite way. It's a bigger, fatter tree. Well, I crawl the boat over there, and that thing locks between my outboard and my jack plate, and I'm stuck in there. So I'm like, "Holy crap, what am I going to do?" Mm-hmm. So I wound up putting the boat in reverse and backing up and trying to pull that leaner out of there so I can get forward over top of it. I'm backing it up, boom, trying to go forward, boom, and I can't get over it. I raise the motor, raise the jack plate, and it's literally in there, and I can't. Long and short of it is, I wound up putting it in reverse and actually trimming it down to hold the stump the leaner in place, backed it up, and I got it to move a little bit. You know what I mean? And then I freaking got off of it, and I went around that tree, and off I went. And sure enough, I found another backwater up there and pounded their brains out in that tournament up there too.
It's good stuff.
It was crazy, but I had committed, because I was super. When I say far from everything, I mean far from everything. And it was not one of those rides for the faint of heart. You know what I mean? Because I was running through some stuff I probably should have never been running.
Some gnarly stuff.
Yeah, it was not smart, but
it happens.
Smart enough. You know what I mean?
You got paid.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely got paid. I think I fished 3 tournaments there and got checks in all 3. But one of my finishes was like a 30th or 35th or something like that.
That's strong. Those are big fields.
Yeah, they were. It was crazy. It was crazy. I fished a real popular backwater the one time and lit them up. I just couldn't get giant fish. But I caught them all day. Me and my non-boater must have went through 60 or 70 fish. But you got to remember, dude, the Red River was fishing back then.
Yeah, yeah. I think they had
Yeah.
they had some flooding and a lot of the
Oh,
guys
dude.
that I talked to in the tournament. Like I was talking with Brad, and I was like, "Where'd all the big ones go?" And he's like, "All the ponds that are beautiful." They're like
Yeah.
they swam back there at the high water and said, "Why would we go back to the river?"
Right, exactly. I mean,
But
that's
anyway,
exactly
it's
right.
coming back. Like I said, I got some bites there, but
Oh, it's coming back. I mean, it's river systems are cyclical. They really are.
even the Ohio.
Oh, the Ohio's the most cyclical river I've ever been on. One year it'll fish lights out, one year, and then the next year you might as well go bluegill fishing. I mean, that's just
I like
how it
bluegill
is.
fishing.
But the Ohio changed its complexion around a lot. It's not the same river that it used to be. Smallmouth are way more prevalent. Back in the day, spots and largemouth were more prevalent. And now the farther south you go on the pools, you can still do the largemouth spotted bass thing. The farther north you go, it turns into all smallmouth fisheries. And so it's not a bad thing. I've had some glorious smallmouth days on the upper pools in the Ohio. Big smallmouth days.
You hear talk buzzbaits?
Mm-hmm.
It's that time of the year, isn't it?
It is bad.
This is something I've been looking forward to. I didn't look at the list. I don't think. Have you done a buzzbait show?
No, and actually, here's the bummer of it all. Literally decided on the Buzzbait show about 1.5 minutes before we aired. So I didn't have a chance.
Well, we can just do some tips and tricks. We can wet the whistle and then go back and dive in if there's a
Right.
ample
So
supply of interest in it.
right. So we'll just touch on it, but because all my Buzzbaits are in my boat, so I didn't have a chance to dive into them. But here I'll just keep it real simple to start, and we'll get deeper and deeper as we move through this.
Okay.
Skirts on Buzzbaits, traditional. We'll just call them traditional. Okay, traditional style Buzzbaits with the skirt. I always use a trailer with a skirted buzzbait, but I'll use like a split tail eel or a ringworm or something of that effect, something that doesn't push and move a lot of water. I keep it really thin, streamlined. Most of my skirted buzzbaits are 3/8 ounces or less. And then sometimes, just depends. I have some bait hacks that I do to them to make them squeak more and stuff like that. But 3/8 ounce to halves, those buzzbaits, I don't throw them with skirts on them. I like swim bait trailers or toad style bit trailers on them, like the tip toad, the War Eagle buzzbait with the tip toad on it. This is what I do when I start getting 3/8 and bigger. That's kind of what I throw.
The toad on the back.
Yeah, the toad, or of course you already saw this one because I showed it already. This is a War Eagle buzzbait, but I use the full size pulse minnow on it.
That's something that's. Have you been doing the plastics on the back for a long time, or is that something that is fairly? New?
It's getting popularity today with the advent of some of these sexier swim baits we have. Here, I'll tell you what I used to do. This is how long ago I did this. I used a Mr. Twister paddle tail on the back of them. Sassy shad. Remember the sassy shad?
Yeah.
That's what I used to use on the back of them.
Interesting.
And so I have been doing this, obviously, if I said sassy shad, most of my life. Okay. It's only now getting popular because we have such good swim baits on the market today, like Scottsboro and Pulse and all the other brands. Okay. That now they look like real minnows. You know what I mean? And so it's becoming more popular. I mean, I've fished them on when chatterbaits first came out. I'd tear the skirts off of them and fish swim baits on my chatterbait. I didn't even use skirts on my chatterbaits when they first came out. Now I do use skirts on my chatterbaits now, especially when I want bluegill or crawdad imitating stuff, because I'll use the Yum spine craw as a trailer on them. But now we're going into chatterbaits and not buzzbaits, that kind of thing. And then I'll gravitate towards my more shaddy type stuff as the season progresses. Because with the chatterbait, you're going to imitate bluegills, rock bass, crayfish early in the season, and then you're going to start to go into your shad imitators as the season progresses. Go ahead.
So is a buzzbait imitating a shad all the time? Is it a reaction bait that they're angry that they're destroying? When is the ideal time for you that you're going to pick up a buzzbait? Because I know a lot of guys throw them, from the spring and once the water hits a certain all the way through the fall once the water hits. But it seems like right now seems to be a key time when a lot of guys, and you hear a lot about the buzzbaits. But just as a whole, what are they doing? What are they eating?
So here's the deal. The biggest missed bite on a buzzbait is pre-spawn.
Pre-spawn?
Yeah, we're going to get that right out of the rip. That's the biggest missed bite. Buzzbait pre-spawn is dynamic. You find a lot of spawning flats that way, and you catch a lot of giant bass that way in the pre-spawn. Summer buzzbait fishing is predicated a lot on the fishery you're fishing. Okay, if it's traditionally a shallow water fishery, there can be top water all year long. That's just a fact. I generally, when I get into real grassy lakes, I'll put the buzzbait down and opt for the Super Spook or Super Spook Junior because I just think they're more effective. But as the water starts to cool down in the fall, you can't beat the buzzbait on grass lakes, on wood lakes, on any lake. Bass are feeding heavy. They're all keyed in on shad this time of year. This is the shad bite, okay? So when I'm throwing buzzbaits in the fall, all I'm doing is imitating shad.
Okay.
And here, look, even the War Eagle with the tiptoed on it. You see what color I got?
Shad color.
It's a shad color, and that's pretty much the deal. Now I'll throw this bait in the summer, and I might go all black or black and blue on it, because now I'm imitating other things. Could be a mouse, could be a frog, could be, you're imitating other things because the bass are feeding what's around them in that environment. But in the fall, it's shad. It's bait fish all the way in the fall.
Okay.
Yeah. So trailer hooks. I'm a 50-50 on a trailer hook on a buzzbait. I have done it. I did it on the Potomac because I wasn't hooking up. They were missing the buzzbait, and I wasn't hooking up. So I added a trailer hook on the Potomac one time, and it helped. But what helped out even more was going to an oversized blade on a lighter buzzbait and slowing it way the hell down.
Almost just like you would with the spinnerbait.
Right. That's exactly what I did. And once I slowed that thing down enough, they were choking on it. So this, again, from the beginning of the show, you can modify a bait based on conditions given to you if you recognize it. And so I recognized it on the Potomac. I'm like, they're behind this thing all the time. I couldn't slow it down. And back then I was, the tiptoed wasn't out yet, because you can fish a tiptoed slower than you can a horny toad. So the tiptoed wasn't out then. So I got off the horny toad and I went to the buzzbait, and then upsized my blade on the buzzbait and then started crushing them. So,
clacker, no clacker. I know Booyah has. I mean, they got the da, 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 and then others that just squeal. Some of the other buzzbaits, they hit the head. What's your deal? Squeal versus clacking?
Clacking is fantastic if you're the only one throwing one. If the guy in the back of your boat's throwing clackers and you're throwing clackers, I want to push him out of the boat, It's the same thing. It's the same thing with rattle baits. If I'm throwing rattle baits and the guy in the back of the boat's throwing rattle baits, I want to push him out of the boat because there's too much noise going on.
Okay.
It's too crazy. So what I do with clacker, super dirty water or heavy weed growth, the clacker's fantastic because you're calling fish from farther distance. But if I'm subtle approach and I'm in a area that's protected and it's quiet, squeak. I want squeak all the way. Squeak before everything. That's my rule of thumb. No squeak, no play. And
what does a squeak imitate? Or does that just piss them off? Or does it just draw them in? What's the deal with the squeak, in your opinion?
You know what? Truthfully, I don't know. I don't know. But when you get the right squeak, that buzzbait's magical. And there's tricks to do it. There's tricks to make it to make you get that way and stuff like that. But so clacker, I throw clacker, dirty conditions, heavy weed growth, subtle approach. I want squeaking. If a guy in the back of my boat's throwing a clacker, I'm not throwing a clacker. If he's throwing just a standard ordinary buzzbait, I'll throw a clacker in front of him. But that's kind of the buzzbait approach. I do not throw buzzbaits on braided line. That's the one thing I do not do. Not saying that I would never do it. I just don't do it. Probably I want to experiment with it though. I have to be honest with you. I want to experiment with throwing it on braid because I've heard a lot of good things about it. I'm a mono guy on my buzzbait.
Stretch.
Yeah, I want them to get it, take it, choke on it, and then I'll let the rod do the dirty work. That's kind of my approach. Plus, like I said, I don't throw it on a buzzbait. I mean, on braid a lot. But when you consider you throw your toad style baits on braid, really, what's the difference? You know what I mean? There's no dang difference. If you just wait till the bass loads the rod, you should be in good shape. I would probably go to a little softer tip, I think, if I went to the braid on the buzzbait.
Clay also brings up a good point. He said, also, I only like a black two blade, but that is the deal. You talk about the shad patterns, but there is a black buzzbait by black blade, 100%. Black skirt, or black toad. I struggle 100%. With when you go with black versus when you go with white.
The Potomac, I had to go black and white. I had to go black and white skirt with a black trailer to catch them on the Potomac.
What is with the? Why are they? Is it a silhouette thing? Are they able to see it better?
Yeah, I think it's silhouetted better in that tanniny brownish color water.
Okay.
I think it's silhouetted better. But here on the Potomac, I took my blade and I colored it with a Sharpie, so it was like black anodized looking blade. I colored it with a Sharpie.
Gold, silver, black, purple, green, oxidized or anodized. What blade wise are you sticking silver and black?
I traditionally throw gold most of the time. Yeah, I throw gold most of the time.
You just like it.
I just like it. Confidence thing. I got a buddy of mine he's silver till he dies with a buzzbait, and he catches just as many as I do. I'm really into the gold anodized blades. I just like the dull finish on them. Personal preference. Here again, you touched on it in the beginning of the show. One guy says no feather, one guy says absolutely feather. It's the same thing with me with the buzzbait. I say absolutely a gold blade. My buddy says absolutely a silver blade. And I can't tell you that there's a difference. When the buzzbait bites on, I can't tell you that there's a difference.
We're ripping through this stuff.
Yeah, we're covering.
Speed. So this is the other thing. I have seen a big difference in my boat. If I'm up there and I want a buzzbait bite and I'm going, and I've got a guy in the back, and I've had this happen in a Toyota once. He was sitting down in his seat. He'd make the cast and go, and And I kept saying, what do you do different? And he's like, son, I'm barely turning the handle.
Yeah. Well, that's how I prefer to fish the buzzbait. Slow and methodical as I can. That's why I that's why I have buzzbait blades with me of different sizes. Because if it's too windy and I can't throw the quarter, I can put the 3/8, bump the blade size up a little bit, and keep it slower. And then there's times when they want it literally Mach 10, where if you're not smoking that thing across the top, you're not getting a bite. When you're throwing a buzzbait and you're ripping it as fast as you could reel it, and they're demolishing it, that's 110% nothing but a reflex bite. Those bass are shallow. That thing's ripping over their head, and all the fish thinks is, holy crap, whatever that is getting away. And they totally react on it. It's not a hunger strike. When you're doing that with the thing, you're appealing to everything with them. Not only their predatory instinct, but their hunger instinct. But when you're smoking that thing, it's totally a reaction bite. Totally.
I haven't figured this out, but there's something to it with, I don't know whether it's something in the water or whether it's, I've heard about barometric pressure, but that it's best when your buzzbait's leaving a bubble trail. I've had it where you start out in the morning and there's no bubble trail, and then a front moves in, and then all of a sudden you have a thick bubble trail behind your buzzbait. And I've always, I guess the old wives' tale is the bigger the bubble trail, something's happening. Something's happening with the pressure where it's dropping. The pressure is dropping, creating the bubble trail, and you're about to get obliterated when that bubble trail starts. Is that something that you've ever come across, or is that just me?
No, I've never noticed it.
You ever heard that?
No, I never.
You've never heard sometimes you throw it and you have a bubble trail and sometimes you don't?
No, I've never heard that. I know that I tweak my buzzbaits out to the nth degree, and I'm mostly getting a bubble trail. I don't pay attention to the bubble trail. I pay more attention to the sound. Once I got the right sound, everything is working, and it works.
Frank, you got to go out. High bluebird skies. Tie on a buzzbait. Try to get a bubble trail. Then overcast, something comes through. You get that kind of feel. Then tie it on. It'll blow your mind. There's a bubble trail behind it.
Yeah, I'm totally going to do that. Now, not only that, like I don't hesitate to throw a buzzbait in the rain either. When it's raining, I'll throw it. I don't mean like a torrential downpour where you can't see the front of your boat. Mm-hmm. But if it's raining, I'll throw it. If it's raining and I'm shallow water fishing, I got a buzzbait and a spinnerbait and a square bill out.
You'll throw it all day. I mean, what is your ideal conditions?
When they're eating it. I've literally had days where I never put it down. To be honest with you, but I've had days like that with a lot of topwaters, where, especially the spooks, if I'm fishing a topwater and I know the bites are more quality on it, I'll suffer through getting less bites for the quality. And a buzzbait is a quality fish bait. So if you're really on a buzzbait bite, I'll stay with it until I can't catch them on it anymore. And that's the truth, because you're going to have a much bigger bag with the buzzbait than you are, if you're fishing other things and you without it.
Tacklecraft, he says, when the bubbles froth and they don't pop quick, it's on.
I'm oblivious to the bubbles, man. I'm going to have to pay attention to that.
I think that the fish look up and they see the bubbles and they say, I wonder where those bubbles are leading. And then they follow the bubbles like a breadcrumb trail, and then they come upon the buzzbait.
Well, I think they eat the buzzbait because they think they're baby bass boats and they want to get them before they grow up.
Can we end on that?
Could we what?
Could we end the show on that comment?
Because it's so bad.
That's a great one. I've never heard that before.
Because it's such a bad joke.
How have I never heard? Did you just come up with that now?
No, I heard it when I was a tiny lad.
The
a wee
Buzzbaits
lad.
are baby bass boats. They want to eat them before they grow up.
Yeah, it's factual.
I like it. Hey, this has been a very eclectic show. We've covered a bunch. Good stories in there about the Red River. I mean, you can also learn from those stories just about following your instinct and pushing the limits. I can't tell you how many times I've, recently, especially on bodies of water that you're not familiar with, have committed to going somewhere and then for no apparent reason gone 80%, but not 100%.
Yeah, you got to go the mile. If you're going to go the mile, go the mile. My whole thing is I'm already here. I came here for a reason. I'm not cutting it short. I'm going till I can't go. My personality is such that if I went all the way and then right before the end turned around and left, I would not be able to sleep at night. I'd get up the next day and go right back there. Because you got to go that extra mile because you don't know what's there until you're there.
I like it. Lurenet, Mobster swim jigs, and what else is 15% off?
Swim baits.
And
remember, because flash mob season's coming up, so the swim baits, get them while they're on sale because
it's those little Scottsboroughs.
Oh yeah,
or the Pulse minnows or any of that stuff.
Money.
All right, so you mentioned a couple times during the show. You said something about bluegill fishing. You mentioned some other species. Next week's show is going to be a jammer.
Oh, I got an idea. Next week's show, guys.
We've talked about bass fishing. We've talked about bass fishing for a year and a half on here on day 4s. When we toured Uncle Frank's
shop.
What do you want to call it? Shop? Dungeon? Shop.
Yeah, my dungeon. I'm a cellar dweller. I'm a typical Italian.
Well, dude, you do all sorts of saltwater. You do trout. You do walleye. You do all sorts of other species.
Yeah, if it's got fins and eyeballs, I want to catch it.
And we were having this discussion about how it's kind of like good athletes often grew up and are often talented in other sports. LeBron James was can you talk about him being from Ohio?
Yeah.
Still, you good? He was a big-time football player. And
right.
You talk about all these guys that were good at multiple sports. Well, I look at multiple species like different sports, get better bass fishing by expanding your horizons, and that's kind of what you're going to go into next week.
Yeah, I mean, look at some of the best bass fishermen are the best deer hunters. I mean, look at it. It happens.
It happens. All right. This has been another edition of Day 4 with the man, Frank Scalish, number 87.
87. I got to write that down so I don't forget.
That means next week's 88.
That's right. We're approaching 100, dude.
We're going to do something special for 100, hopefully.
We are.
All right, we'll see everyone next week.